So the question being pondered up on Capitol Hill, is Elena Kagan the right woman to uphold the Constitution, the supreme law of the land? Senator Orrin Hatch joins us. He's the second-ranking Republican on the committee and at times has served as its chairman. Good morning to you, Senator.
Well, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. A Democrat yesterday, Herb Kohl, one of your colleagues from Wisconsin, told Kagan, who, of course, has never served on as a judge or on the bench, your judicial philosophy is almost invisible to us. Would you agree with that?
Yes, there's no question about that. She, we know a lot about Elena Kagan, but she has not sat on a bench. She really hasn't written much for an academic leader and certainly a dean of Harvard Law School. And what we're relying on mainly are her policy positions when she worked for the Clinton White House, and of course a few articles that she has written, most of which don't apply to the Supreme Court.
I know, Senator, that you have voted only once against a high court nominee in 34 years in office, right?
That's right. I take the position that that's what you get when you get a president. You get that his or her type of nominees, and normally I would vote for them, but I have to say I voted against Sonia Sotomayor for a number of reasons, and I hope I don't have to vote against Elena Kagan, but I'm going to look at it very carefully.
She seems so measured and so rehearsed. Today will be arguably her toughest day. Give me an idea of the questions that, how you're going to ask them, in which, and she might be watching, how you're going to watch to try to get a candid answer. She's already on the record saying that this whole thing is a big charade and that she wishes these candidates, judicial candidates for the Supreme Court, would be a little bit more transparent. So what do you think you'll get and what we ask?
Well, it'll be interesting to see if she'll live up to what her law review article said as far as criticizing the vapid way the hearings are held. But I suspect she's going to have to answer questions on things like abortion, things like the military recruitment issue. Free speech issues are going to be important. And
well, the military recruitment issue, she said, was in place before she took over.
Well, she's going to say that, but the fact of the matter is that she kept it in place even though it was the Third Circuit Court of Appeals, not her circuit, that outlawed it before the Supreme Court overturned that. And there's a real question why she would have kept that in place and ultimately she was overruled by the president of the university. It's a touchy area. She's going to have to handle it very, very well because it's something that has a lot of us Republicans our teeth on edge.
Sure, and of course we look at your record. You've already voted for her when she came up for Solicitor General. So, is it possible to vote for her once and then fast forward a couple of years and vote against her?
Well, keep in mind, that was for Solicitor General. That's a limited position for a short time. And the president should have whoever he wants in that particular position as long as they're competent. We're talking about one of 9 seats on the most powerful court in the world, 1/3 of our separated powers in our government, and this is a different matter. Before you give her a lifetime appointment to the most important court in the world, you certainly want to look at all the things that you should.
Senator, how do you respond to this? There have been some conservatives who have said that this process has just sort of become blah, blah, that Republicans, at least with this administration, haven't really put the nominees in the hot seat as they used to or as they should.
Well, we haven't been as rude or as unkind or as absolutely blatantly rotten as the Democrats have. When you look, when you go back, that's putting it mildly between you and me. When you go back and look at what they did to Bork, one of the greatest legal minds in the history of this country, and how they mistreated him, and then you look how they mistreated Clarence Thomas, who has turned out to be one of the best justices on the court, writing some of the best opinions on the court. They treated him just like dirt. If we'd have done something like that, we'd all been thrown out of the Senate.
Mrs. Alito was in
just
tears.
Can't get away with it.
Mrs. Alito was in tears.
I saw her leave, and I went back into the back room where she was and calmed her a little bit and let her know that, look, that was rotten what they were doing to her husband. But, you know, there's a real double standard here. If Republicans try to do what they did, my gosh, we'd be drummed right out of Washington. But
Very interesting.
I got to say, and then you look at their arguments yesterday, an awful lot of them, we're for the little people, we're the ones who are against the big corporations. Oh, give me a break. It isn't a question of big or little, it's a question of what's right under the law. Yeah. And, you know, that gets really old after a while, and I hope the American people can see through all that. It's just plain BS is what it is.
Okay. He's a straight shooter.
Sorry to be so blunt about it.
No, that's all right. That's why we booked you.
I figured I was going to get that
well,
kind of an answer with that question.
Well, let me tell you, I love my colleagues. They're great people in many ways, but when they get into these type of things, and then they start slandering people, and they start that type of misrepresentation of what the law is, and act like they're holier than thou, and that they're for the people, the average person. My gosh, we're all for the average person, but we sure as heck want to apply the law as written, and we don't want to just ignore the fact that laws are written for specific purposes, and it kind of gets old after a while.
Okay, well, you never get old. The straight talking Sen Hatch from Utah. We thank you, sir, for joining us live. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.